Jesse Ventura in political hot water. How much Social Security will you get at retirement? The government's about to tell you. And Sosa Security, the man who succeeded Michael Jordan as Chicago's favorite.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. Hundreds of thousands of people in northern Japan got the official all clear today, permission to go back outside one day after Japan's worst nuclear accident. This comes as new details are emerging about what did and didn't happen at the nuclear fuel facility north of Tokyo, and what Japanese officials did and didn't do about it. CBS's Barry Peterson has the latest fallout tonight, nuclear and political.
Tokamura was a ghost town. Ghosts who walked wore special protective suits and checked radiation levels, while 300,000 townspeople were ordered to stay indoors. This was a nuclear accident that didn't have to happen. The uranium is supposed to be treated in a three-stage procedure. First, mixed with chemicals, then pumped to a storage tank, and finally to a settling tank. But according to some reports, workers skipped all those steps, instead using a kitchen bucket to mix 8 times the chemicals needed with the uranium, triggering the chain reaction. Company officials apologized and told a shocked nation it was worker error, and we accept it was extremely deplorable. On an international scale of 0 to 7 for nuclear accidents, Chernobyl was a 7. 3 Mile Island in the United States was a 5. This was a 4, which means radiation was generally confined inside the facility and doesn't threaten a wider area. The Japanese army set up showers for residents to rinse off radiation. It never came to that. By late afternoon, the Geiger counter showed the radiation was gone, and people were told they were once again free to leave their homes. And once outside, a lot of frightened townspeople crowded hospitals for radiation checks. The indications are that most people were not seriously hurt. But the 3 workers involved in the accident are hospitalized with what some say was a lethal dose of radiation. And another 46 people who helped stop the reaction or lived next to the plant were also treated and released for radiation exposure. The all clear is not the end of people's worries. There is a question about long-term effects. Officials admit they have no real idea now what they might be because the investigation is just beginning. Barry Peterson, CBS News, at the nuclear fuel processing plant, Tokamura, Japan.
Past experience and research indicate the radiation health risk is likely to be mild outside the immediate area of that nuclear plant. Some people may need antibiotics to bolster immunity to infections. 2 or 3 of the injured plant workers absorbed massive radiation doses, about 800 units called rads. In plain English, that means they got up to double the lethal dose. Just 100 rads can cause serious health damage to the stomach lining and bone marrow. Radioactive iodine vented in the accident could pose a cancer risk. Iodine in any form is quickly absorbed by the thyroid gland. President Clinton today ordered a safety review of nuclear fuel plants in this country. He said he wants to, quote, make sure we've done everything we can to protect ourselves. For the record, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission lists 7 atomic plants in this country involved in similar nuclear fuel processing work. Most are located in the eastern third of the nation. The death toll is now up to 20 from yesterday's earthquake in Mexico. Thousands are homeless. CBS's Bob McNamara was at ground zero today.
The cleanup in Oaxaca began almost as soon as the earth finally stopped shaking.
And it just didn't stop. It just kept going. Shaking one way and then the other.
More than 3,000 buildings were damaged, cars crushed. And most of the dead, including an 18-year-old woman, were killed by debris that had fallen from century-old buildings. The quake measured more than 7 on the Richter scale. And while the death and damage it brought to Mexico was hardly on a scale of the recent killer quakes in Taiwan and Turkey, the magnitude of fear registered here was widespread. The quake struck as Oaxaca's governor met scores of school children. And as ripples went out from the epicenter, utility poles in Mexico City nearly 300 miles away and palm trees swayed. Mexico's National Congress fled as a chandelier swung above it. And panic sent hundreds into open streets in several cities. Experts say the quake could have been so much more devastating had it been centered near the Earth's surface.
This particular earthquake was centered about 50 kilometers. That's about 30 miles below the Earth's surface. And whenever an earthquake has any kind of depth at all, it tends to minimize the amount of damage.
But that is little comfort to those whose sense of security has been shaken again.
There's no safe place in the world. If you're looking for safety, wrong world.
And little comfort to a region rattled by at least half a dozen magnitude 7 quakes in just the last 10 years. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Oaxaca, Mexico.
On the CBS Market Watch, after a one-day rally, stock prices resumed their slide. Today, the Dow closed down 63, NASDAQ off 9. The market seemed to be concerned again about a possible return of inflation after the government reported that spending by American consumers in August was growing nearly twice as fast as their incomes, and the savings rate tied an all-time low of minus 1.5%. The government is concerned that Americans may not be saving enough for their retirement to supplement their guaranteed Social Security. To drive home that point, the government today began mailing out statements telling you how much or how little Social Security you can expect at retirement. CBS's Diana Olick has a report for you.
Starting now, 500,000 Americans a day will be getting something extra in the mail, a blueprint of their financial futures.
Watch the mail for your Social Security statement about 3 months before your birthday.
Working Americans 25 and older who are not on Social Security already will receive an annual statement explaining their potential Social Security benefits.
If workers have some sense of how much money they'll need and what Social Security generally provides, they should be more adequately able to plan for their retirement.
The statement will show your monthly Social Security benefit at age 62, 65, and 70. It'll give a projection of your monthly benefit check should you become disabled, and it will estimate the monthly benefit your family would receive in the event of your death.
But too many Americans, when planning their retirement, take too little account of Social Security. Of course, it's hard to fully plan for tomorrow if you don't know where you stand today.
You know, if you had had this, how would it have changed your life?
Well, like I said, I suppose I would try to save more.
Some senior citizens are skeptical of the statements, concerned with how accurate they can be, but they support the idea.
If I knew what I was going to make, I may not have retired at 62. I might have stayed on the job.
How would you have changed your financial planning?
Well, I certainly would have spent considerably less on frivolous things.
The new plan helps Americans keep tabs on their financial futures, but it also helps them keep tabs on government. Because if you know how much you're supposed to get, you're also going to know if politicians try to take it away. Diana Olick, CBS News, Washington.
Still ahead on the Friday CBS Evening News, the head of the Reform Party slams Jesse Ventura after Ventura attacks religion. Relief from the flu on the eve of the flu season, a promising new drug hits the market. And smiling, slammy Sammy Sosa, clearing the bases and filling the seats.
Let's be honest. There's really no such thing as a gracious winner. You might say things like nice game or shake your opponent's hand. But no matter how humble you are on the outside, deep down on the inside, you're saying, I'm better than you are. The Mitsubishi Galant, ranked the #1 family sedan under 20 grand by Car and Driver. Better than Accord or Camry. Boy, we just love saying that.
Don't wait one more day. Ask your doctor now about Flonase nasal spray or call 1-800-FLONASE. When your doctor writes your prescription for Flonase nasal spray, you'll be glad you took the time. Why wait? All you want is Flonase.
Open wide, it's Frisky's Dental Diet. A Frisky cat's too busy having fun to worry about dental hygiene. That's why there's Frisky's Dental Diet. It helps reduce plaque and tartar buildup by 25%. What a meal! Frisky's Dental Diet.
There's my husband, Nolan Ryan, still throwing heat. Can you believe he's got arthritis? You see, Nolan's doctor says the best way to control arthritis pain is to keep moving. And to make it easier, he recommends Advil. Nothing's been proven stronger on arthritis pain, yet it's gentle on a stomach. In fact, I take Advil for my arthritis pain. That way, we can exercise together.
Advil, stronger than pain.
In the presidential campaign, a revealing inside political story is developing in Washington tonight. Vice President Al Gore now is suddenly changing pollsters. Mark Penn, who's been also polling for the president and Hillary Clinton, is being replaced with Harrison Hickman. Hickman has a long-standing feud with the president, so this is being interpreted as a new effort by Gore to distance himself from the Clintons. Turbulence and turmoil today in the Reform Party, originally founded and bankrolled by Ross Perot, a rip big enough to toss a wrestler through and out, namely Jesse Ventura. CBS's Phil Jones reports why. Phil?
Dan, it was a blistering letter faxed this afternoon to the maverick Minnesota governor from Russ Verney, current chairman of the Reform Party. Verney wrote, "Your comments about religion, sexual assault, overweight people, drugs, prostitution, women's undergarments, and many other subjects do not represent the values, principles, or ethics upon which this party was built. For the good of the members, you should resign now."
The members of the Reform Party feel he's damaged them all across the country, that he's hurt their integrity, their reputation, that they've toiled day and night over the last years to build that reputation, to stand on principles and ethics.
It was what Ventura said in a Playboy interview about religion that has provoked the biggest outrage. He said, organized religion is a sham and a crutch for weak-minded people who need strength in numbers. It tells people to go out and stick their noses in other people's business. In comments last night, the usually combative Ventura found himself on the defensive.
You know, we're all going to make, say things that will offend someone, but they're not meant that way.
Ventura also argued that he would be forgiven.
My feeling on the religious end is that I think all the religious leaders will forgive me, because I think that's what religion's about, is forgiving.
But that appears to be wishful thinking. The Christian Coalition, meeting in Washington today, took note.
Jesse's an ex-SEAL, and I hope he didn't come after me. He's a big, tough wrestler, but I think he's off his rocker.
From the governor tonight, no comment. Dan?
Phil Jones in Washington, thanks. Federal agents investigating 2 pipe bombings at a predominantly black Florida college say they've cracked the case. They arrested 41-year-old Lawrence Lombardi today. Earlier this week, the FBI released audio tapes of racist phone calls threatening further attacks, and someone recognized the voice. The 2 small explosions at Florida A&M this past summer caused no injuries. A 5-year Harvard study suggests race may be a more powerful factor in determining success and opportunity in America than many people realize or admit. The survey covered 4 major U.S. cities. Case in point, Detroit. On average, unskilled white workers there could generate a job offer in 91 hours. It took 167 hours for African Americans. All told, this study found that race is a powerful predictor of success, or lack of it, in jobs, housing, and education. Up next on the CBS Evening News, the controversial new flu drug. The tissue of the issue, does it really work?
We're picking up our CEO.
Fortunately, the company cars have OnStar.
We swerved off the road and boom, the airbags go off.
There was a deer.
I never saw it.
Seconds later, an OnStar advisor calls and says, I just got a signal, your airbags went off, should I send an ambulance?
We were fine, but she called for a tow truck and a limo.
Good thing I called OnStar.
OnStar called us.
Oh, right.
The one-touch connection to people who can help.
OnStar.
Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
They say a man's home is his castle, so maybe he should clean some of it. Now it's easy with new Lysol all-purpose cleaner in a handy spray. He can be Johnny on the spot. He can clean your vanity, or his. New Lysol powers away tough grease better than all the rest. And life's easier knowing Lysol kills harmful germs. What a prince. New Lysol all-purpose cleaner. So you have our word on it, you can't call it clean.
How you doing?
Great, you brought wine.
No, it's not wine.
but go ahead and...
Salad dressing. You brought salad dressing to a party, Frank?
It's not ordinary dressing.
You don't like my wife's salad dressing?
I love her dressing, but, you know, this lowers your cholesterol.
Frank, you're the life of the party.
New Benecol reduces bad cholesterol up to 14% and starts to work in just 2 weeks.
Anyone want to try Frank's dressing? It lowers your cholesterol.
I'll try some of that.
Yeah, see?
Benecol Foods, 3 servings a day, a delicious way to reduce cholesterol.
I told him to bring it, the stuff. Right, Frank?
I'm not really close to Anna Kournikova. First of all, there's that whole language thing.
A PE ratio is price divided by earnings.
Earnings per share is a company's net income minus preferred dividends.
It's like she's speaking a different language.
Can anyone say asset allocation? Mid cap, small cap.
When we created a smarter kind of investment firm,
growth fund.
We created a smarter kind of investor.
Besides, some of the other players are kind of jealous of her, you know, portfolio.
The first ever outbreak of West Nile virus in the United States has disease detectives hopping. Federal health officials are sifting through virus samples under the microscope, and here in New York City, the plan is to hand out information pamphlets tonight. The leaflets explain why the disease detectives will be going door to door soon, asking for blood samples in the neighborhood thought to be ground zero for this outbreak. Now, about a much more common and widespread virus misery. When it comes to containing the just-around-the-corner flu season, CBS's Elizabeth Caledon reports there's a new and controversial drug at the corner drugstore.
It's called Relenza, the first in a new generation of prescription flu-fighting drugs hitting pharmacy shelves today. If inhaled right after diagnosis, studies show flu symptoms are significantly weakened.
This drug, when used for treatment, will shorten the duration of influenza illness by a day or two. It gets people back on their feet more quickly and back to their usual activities.
Come on now! Research also suggests the drug can protect family members from infecting one another. Most winters, flu spreads through the Berberich household like wildfire.
With a family of 5 like this, it can run, you know, into weeks, into months until we've outlived some version of the flu.
But when they all took Relenza during clinical trials, Hannah's full-blown flu was only a case of the sniffles for her older sister.
Usually I'll be sick for 7-10 days at a time. This reduced it like that.
Sounds too good to be true? Dr. Edwin Kilborn says it is. He was on an FDA advisory panel that voted 13-4 against approving Relenza, saying studies didn't back up the claims.
I think the drug was really introduced prematurely. I think more research should have been done.
Now it will be up to the estimated 20 to 50 million flu sufferers every year to determine if it really works. A competitor, the anti-flu pill called Tamiflu, is also expected to be approved soon.
One thing the makers of Relenza and its counterparts are not claiming yet is that they can actually prevent the flu. For that, doctors say, you still need a flu shot. Elizabeth Caledon, CBS News, New York.
Straight ahead on the CBS Evening News, the U.S. takes a casualty in Kosovo as NATO sends a message to Milosevic.
There are those among us with very simple tastes. They only want the best. And for them, there's Fancy Feast gourmet cat food, exceptionally moist and delicious. Fancy Feast, good taste is easy to recognize.
Medicine's always changing. The managed care companies that did not change did not survive. With managed care, or HMO, a health maintenance organization, the word that I think a lot of us are forgetting is that word health. Health is what it's all about, and that's what we're trained for. Prevent disease before it occurs, because if you catch it late, then you have more cost. And so you want to provide better quality to the patient initially. Preventive medicine is probably the best it's ever been.
Today's managed health care. There's a lot to feel good about.
So I like managed care because I can treat people earlier.
You drag it, you bat it, drives you mad, but you can't get at it.
Say goodbye to dirt, dust, and hair with the new Pledge Grab It Sweeper and Claws. Because Pledge Grab It Claws are electrostatically charged to grab the stuff brooms and vacuums may miss.
You want to nab it, go on and grab it, so fast and light it could become a habit. Grab it!
And get rid of dirt, dust, and hair for good. New Pledge Grab It Sweeper and Claws.
Grab it!
Hey, Danielle, how's it going? How come you're using this?
How most people do it.
that doesn't make it the best way. We can make our pizza sauce from tomato concentrate like some of the other guys, but we use a sauce that's canned fresh. To me, it tastes better than sauce made from concentrate. Maybe you should do it different than most people.
Keep squeezing, Dad. Keep squeezing.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Keep going, Dad.
Get a large one-topping pizza for $8.99. Get a second large for just $6.99.
Why do I rent from Enterprise? Very simple. No stress.
We'll be happy to
They arrange to pick me up free, so I don't have to ask anyone for a ride. See? No stress. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
A U.S. Army paratrooper was killed today in Kosovo, casting a shadow over a show of NATO military strength there. The American was killed when his parachute failed to open. He was one of 120 elite airborne troops who jumped out of transport planes supported by attack helicopters in what had been planned as a demonstration of NATO's readiness to respond to any provocation by Serbian forces. At least 4 Americans have been killed in Kosovo, all in accidents. In Belgrade, still in power Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic is facing another round of street protests. Tonight, Serb police sealed off part of the city to prevent a march on Milosevic's home by 10,000 protesters. They say they'll keep up their demonstrations until Milosevic resigns. The government of China today celebrated 50 years of communist rule with lavish displays of military might and economic growth, and not a word about the closing of churches or freedom. Tiananmen Square, where Mao Zedong proclaimed the Communist People's Republic 50 years ago. It was the scene of an all-day celebration. China's military dominated the parade with tanks and new sophisticated weapons. President Jiang Zemin reviewed the troops, casting himself as the successor to Mao and to Deng Xiaoping. He said China under communist rule has accomplished a miracle and surprised the world. But the festive scene was off limits to most Chinese who could only watch it on television. Police blocked the streets all around Tiananmen Square and rounded up political dissidents to prevent protests. Tonight, tens of thousands of carefully selected Chinese took part in an evening spectacle in the square. Rank-and-file people had to content themselves with a distant view of the fireworks. Straight ahead now on the CBS Evening News, a look at this year's Home Run Derby and what makes Sammy run.
No one wants to see their cat suffer from hairballs. That's why Hill's introduces new Science Diet Hairball Control Formula, the only cat food with natural vegetable fiber to help control hairballs. Science Diet, what vets feed their pets.
What a close call with my overactive bladder. Having to go suddenly, needing to go so frequently. But that time, I almost didn't make it. That did it. I asked my doctor about Detrol.
Overactive bladder is a medical condition. Today's prescription Detrol is proven effective to treat it. Detrol helps control bladder contractions that cause those sudden urges. Detrol reduced bathroom visits by 2.2 times in 24 hours versus 1.1 times with placebo. 1.2 fewer wedding accidents occurred with Detrol versus 0.8 fewer with placebo. Similar decreases over 24 hours. If you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems, do not take Detrol. The most common side effect is dry mouth. Some others may include dry eyes, headache, constipation, and indigestion.
Enjoy the movie?
Thanks to Detrol.
Ask your doctor about prescription Detrol, proven effective to treat overactive bladder.
Why is it that superheroes never have kids? Does changing diapers get in the way of fighting crime? Or could there be a simpler explanation? Maybe superheroes just have a hard time finding a family sedan that the bad guys won't laugh at. The Mitsubishi Galant, ranked the #1 family sedan under 20 grand by Car and Driver. Battle Evil. Bring the kids.
If it's real chicken your dog wants, it's Prime you want. Because high-quality chicken is the primary ingredient in Pedigree Prime.
The U.S. government is out with its latest report on automobile fuel efficiency. Most economic is the Honda Insight, powered by a combination of electricity and gasoline. It gets 61 miles to the gallon in city driving, 70 on the highway. Next is the VW Beetle, 42 city, 49 highway. The biggest gas guzzler is the Ferrari 550 Maranello. It gets 8 miles city, if you're lucky 12 on the highway. Big League Baseball is winding up its regular season with two home run heroes and good guys, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, set to slug it out in a weekend series in St. Louis. McGwire leads by 1 homer. For a second straight year, each has more than 60 dingers and counting. CBS's Bill Geist is keeping score on Sosa.
The Cubs are almost always bad, and this year they're worse than usual. Except for one thing. Attendance is at an all-time high. Why is that?
Sammy Sosa.
Mark Grace should know. He's the Cubs' star first baseman.
They're here for one reason only, and that's to watch Sammy, and that's deservedly so.
The 3-2. Swung and belted. How far is that going to go? They come to see Sammy Sosa hit home runs. 66 homers last season. Now, the first player ever to hit 60 home runs 2 seasons in a row. But almost as much as Sammy's hitting, yes! Fans love his style.
You could just see it in his eyes. He just loved to play this game, the way he runs out to right field, and he plays the game like he was a child.
Sammy is 60s baseball. It's when players and fans came together as one. It wasn't about money.
It certainly wasn't here. Sammy's winning ways have carried him a long, long way from the sandlots of the Dominican Republic to the cereal boxes of America.
He's captivated not only the city of Chicago, but he's captivated the baseball world and the world period.
Yeah. 5 minutes with Sammy would be this is it. You want Sammy, this is it.
These days, everybody seems to want Sammy.
Somebody say Midano?
I'd like you to meet your new Sammy Sosa.
Come to the Dominican Republic. Sammy Sosa, you're a hero in 2 countries tonight.
Even the newest Yankee fan wants to be in his presence. They even held a parade for Sammy in New York. Would Chicago ever have a parade for a New York Met? How big is Sammy?
It's Jordan-esque. It's that type of greatness.
Something akin to blasphemy is occurring here in Chicago, where the owners of this landmark restaurant are changing the name from Michael Jordan's to Sammy Sosa's. Can Sammy cook, too?
I cannot cook, but I can hit.
Bill Geist, CBS News, Chicago.
And that's part of our world tonight. Bob Schief will be along Sunday with Face the Nation. His special newsmaking guest will be Vice President Al Gore. Now from 60 Minutes, Morley Safer.
Sunday on 60 Minutes, these 2 cops tell Ed Bradley there is a blue wall of silence. Rat on a fellow cop, and they'll make your life miserable. Also, it wouldn't take a terrorist to reinfect the U.S. with tuberculosis. All it would take is an airline passenger to bring it back from Russia, where it's reached epidemic proportions.
The great 60 Minutes, Sunday. And we invite you to join us again Monday for the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Have a great weekend. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online at keyword CBS News.
He made a career out of stealing people's identity. Monday, he'll tell you just how easy it is to do it. Part 1 of an Eye on America special series on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Amazing new products you won't believe. Tomorrow on Saturday morning. Experience CBS News.
The #1 newscast at 6 o'clock.